The lunatic potato in charge of Russia, Putin, has been slinging his men against a veritable blue brick wall for no obvious reason that could possibly justify the losses in men and material. The town of Bakhmut has been a source of tactical focus for significant number of Russian units, including many Wagner Co mercenaries. They have thrown themselves and significant amounts of material against the Ukrainian defenders with unusually vigorous determination. Why? For us to truly understand that, we need to understand the history of this area during the current invasion. On the 1st of August, Russian forces launched massive ground attacks on settlements south and southeast of the town. The following day, Ukraine reported that Russian forces had ramped up airstrikes and shelling of the city, beginning a ground attack on the southeastern part of the city. Bombardment continued through the 3rd of August. On the 4th of August, Wagner mercenaries managed to break through the heroic Ukrainian defenses and reached the eastern outskirts of the town. On the 10th of August, Russian forces bombarded the central part of the city, killing and injuring civilians. In the following days, Russian forces continued to push towards Bakhmut from the south, with the Ukrainian General Staff admitting that Russian forces had achieved partial success near the town. Russian artillery managed to significantly damage and destroy buildings throughout the town. Wagner was not having a good time during the assault, with Alexei Nagin, a commander in the group, being killed near the town, and due to significant losses, they started relying on the arrival of prisoners from Russia to prop up their manpower needs. On October 7, Russian forces advanced into the villages of Zaitsev and Opytny on the southern outskirts of the town. A minor Ukrainian counter-offensive by the 93rd Mechanized Brigade on October 24 managed to push Russian forces from some factories on the eastern outskirts of the city. However, on October 27, Russian forces again took control of the Bakhmut cement plant. Since then, Russia has targeted the town with Iranian-made drones after 450 of them were sent to Russia in mid-October. These are not the best-looking combat troops I have seen, and would imagine that they are either ex-prisoners, DPR troops, or just old reserves. Either way, they resemble meat, ready for the grinder. The Russian mod claimed that Russian forces completed the capture of Mayorsk, which is 20 kilometers south of Bakhmut, on November 13, and of Pavlivka, which is 45 kilometers southwest of Donetsk city, on November the 14th, after several weeks of not making claims of Russian territorial gains. It is believed Russian forces will likely recommit troops to Donetsk Oblast after leaving the right bank of Kherson Oblast, which will likely lead to an intensification of operations around Bakhmut, Donetsk city, and in western Donetsk Oblast. However, given that Ukrainian forces have already moved across the Dnipro, and are establishing a small bridgehead on the Kinburn split, the Russians would be ill-advised to reduce their forces in the area, as if the Ukrainians cross in force, they can pivot north and roll up the Russian line. At least this Russian trooper took time out to feed this dog. As animal lovers, we see this as a sign of humanity which has been lacking in the war zone. The Russian forces will likely make gains in these areas in the coming days and weeks, but these gains are unlikely to be operationally significant, and the question is whether this is all worth it. The meat grinder of Bakhmut has been operating ceaselessly for months, and the Russians haven't even taken the town. The Ukrainians have not reduced their offensive and alleviated the pressure on the Russian defenders in the Kherson region to reinforce Bakhmut, thus it has had no functional benefit to the invaders. So why bother? There is zero strategic worth if they are unable to make a breakthrough, and there appears to be no chance of that happening. The only possible reason is that taking Bakhmut would rupture Ukraine's supply lines and open a route for Russian forces to press on toward Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, key Ukrainian strongholds in Donetsk province. Pro-Moscow separatists have controlled part of Donetsk and neighboring Luhansk province since 2014. But apart from that, Putin will do anything for a win, and he currently believes that Bakhmut offers him the best chance. A British man, Simon Lingard, 38, died fighting for Ukraine. He was killed in action on Monday whilst fighting against Russian forces around Bakhmut. He was former British military. He leaves behind 2 children. he is just one of many heroes to die in defense of this area and Ukraine. It has to be said that this part of Donetsk is a land of immense beauty, and the fighting around unharvested sunflowers is something to behold. Bakhmut has seen much drone warfare, not just Russians using Iranian systems, but Ukrainians too. Especially with the use of domestic drones armed with grenades and jury-rigged mortar bombs or in reconnaissance roles. This video is pretty impressive and shows shelling as well as a raid on a series of trenches. Keep watching, it's about a minute long. Like most areas of the war zone, artillery has played a huge role in the fighting around Bakhmut, with Russia focusing an unusual amount of hardware in the area. However, with this much shelling, the impact on civilians and infrastructure has been immense, turning the once beautiful town and area into a lunar landscape. It's really very sad actually. Please do drop a like and subscribe. Your support is immensely important to us.